Today we're going to look at just the opposite. Yesterday we were graphing lines, and then from an equation, now we're going to look at a line that's already graphed and write the equation for it. So the first thing we need to do is find 2 points that lie on the line. And when we're looking for points, what we're really looking for is where these two grid lines meet, if possible. So as I'm looking through this particular line here, I can see that there's a point right here that is where two grid lines would meet. There's another one up here at the top and one at the bottom. So I really want to see as much as possible. This one's a little bit off. I don't want to have to estimate those. I want to get as close as I can. And then I'm just going to go ahead and mark those 2 points on my graph just by making those dots bigger. And then I had 3, so I'm going to go ahead and mark that third because I'll often look for a third. Count, rise over run. So from 1 point, I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I went the other direction, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I just want to make sure that that out and over is going to be okay. We're going to identify the y-intercept. That in this case was the first point that I picked, which ends up in this case being 1. And then it says write in slope-intercept form. Remember, if our line is going up or down is important. In this case, it's going down, so we have a negative slope. So, and we also talked about when we were graphing yesterday, if you're going up and to the left, that means you have a negative slope. So my m in this case is going to be negative 3/5. How far up, and then how far over that I went. To write the whole thing out, I have a couple options. Y equals 1 minus 3/5 x. That slope always gets the x, but we don't write it with a slope. Or y equals negative 3/5 x plus 1. They both mean the same thing. We just have two different options of how we want to write it. Sometimes if it's a story, it makes more sense to write our y-intercept first because it's just easier for us. Looking at my next graph, I'm going to, again, find my 2 points. And if my y-intercept is on that graph, I'm going to take it because it's easy to read, it's easy to see. And then if I'm finding my next point, it looks like it's here, which would be up 3 over 1. I want to just double check. Can I still do the same thing? And it's going to still be on that graph. So if I have a chance, I'm going to do that just so I'm not off a little bit. And, oh, I didn't even move my stuff down far enough to look. So I put all my stuff up on the top. I'll leave it on the first one. We'll write it better on the second one. So in this case, my y-intercept, remember, is my b. That's going to be at 0. My slope would be 3 over 1. And if you want to write it as just 3, that's fine too. And then y equals 3x. Or you could write y equals 3x plus 0. Nothing wrong with that. Because this is bothering me, I'm just going to go ahead and move this down. And we'll move that down. Oh, I stole a 5. Okay, now I feel better. It's all in the right spot. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of these, and then I just want you to try on your own and see if you can get them to match. So looking again, I'm looking for 2 points on the graph. A lot of times your y-intercept in these will be a whole number just because as I'm having you write them, I don't want you to have to estimate your y-intercept. It doesn't mean it always has to be a whole number. It's just for right now, that's what we're looking for. And then when I'm looking back on my line, this one looks to be good, and I don't see another one that actually fits. So my equation is going to be, I'm just going to write them up here. My b is equal to negative 4. My m, I know it's negative because that line is going down. And I have to go up 2 to the right 3. And then y equals negative 2/3 x minus 4. Sometimes people get stuck on that second one. Let's look at that. So I have a lot of different choices that I can pick for points. All of these points here seem to be working. So my slope is going to be up 1, right 1, just because that's kind of how it's going to go. If you found different points, you might have said up 2 over 2. 2 divided by 2 would still simplify down to 1, so it would still be the same. My y-intercept is going to be where it crosses on the y-axis. I'm just kind of making it bigger here, so that'd be at 5. So my b equals 5, my m equals 1, so I have y equals 1x plus 5, or you may have just written y equals x plus 5. Just trying to see if I see any on here that are like, this one really definitely looks different. They all look to be about the same. Let's look at number 10, just because it's, number 10. So looking down, it looks to be here. So that would have been down 3 over 1. So I'm just going to double check. Down 3 over 1. That still matches up on that grid, so then I have a more confidence on my slope. Looking at this line has a positive slope to it. So when I'm writing out my slope, my M is going to equal 3 over 1, which is also equal to 3. My y-intercept equals 4 because that's where it crosses that y-axis here. So y equals 3x plus 4. You're just going to try the rest of them and check it with the answer key.